So before going to talk about breeding methods and other things, I would like to salute some stalwarts who have contributed a lot and due to whom not only our country but many countries are self-sufficient. So out of them, first of all, I would like to salute Dr. Norman E. Borlaug, who is a Nobel laureate and who did wonder for it. And our country is very much you can say, sufficient due to normal Borlaug. And I could have opportunity to meet him two times. Once when in 2001 when he visited Lucknow, I was in UP Council of Agriculture Research, and due to his visit, my program to visit Myanmar as a FAO consultant was postponed by 1 week. Our Director General, Dr. S.C. Mudgal, told me that only you have to take care of him and you have to stay and you can postpone your trip, and I postponed. So I would I am getting pleasure to share. Then next time when I came at Pantnagar in 2003, then he come in 2005 to, you can say, bless on convocation, and he also released our book. So at that time also I could meet him. Now next person who is known as father of green revolution in India, legendary person, Dr. Padma Bhushan, Dr. M. Swaminathan ji, who is eminent geneticist and first World Food Prize winner. He got first, the World Food Prize was instituted and he was the first recipient in 1987. And so his positive policies, you can say, put us in a very good shape that in this COVID-19 lockdown period, at least Indian could not, you can say, feel starved. All were fed without any escalation in the food items, you can say. No, there was no escalation at all, what I could see, because there was no reporting. And then we have other three stalwarts from our own country, Dr. G.S. Khush Sahab, who has been eminent rice breeder and World Food Prize winner 1996, very down-to-earth worker. And then second, Dr. K.S. Basal, eminent maize breeder, who also got World Food Prize in 2000, very eminent breeder. Recently, he has joined BISA, Borlaug Institute of South Asia, which is a body of CIMIT established in India. Then third one, Dr. Sanjay Rajaram, who was for a long time at CIMIT, contributed a lot, developed thousands of varieties, and he also, you can say, awarded World Food Prize. So I have, you can say, opportunity to meet him many times. So I would like to salute each one of them. Now, focus of the today talk are there in, of course, 4 parts. So highlights the plant breeding achievements in very brief, then what are the challenges, and then what are the breeding methods for better development. There are many breeding methods, but I would like to share only those methods which are currently being used by me and my team. And then procedure for variety release. So this I will tell you because I have made 2 slides, but they were skipped. So, but I will be telling how varieties are going to the farmer's field at the end. So highlights of plant breeding achievements, I am begin with. So of course, there are, you can say, thousands of, you can say, complements of plant breeding. So I'm not going to share each one everything, but I would like to share a few significant ones. So plant breeding is concerned with developing varieties superior to existing one. The thumb rule that when we are talking about development of variety, it does mean we are going to do something better than existing one. That is the thumb rule. So for doing existing one, we have to put all our energy. So we have to use either classical breeding approaches or innovative breeding approaches. And I must tell you that yield is prime, but prior to that, prerequisite is disease resistance. Disease resistance is a dynamic phenomenon because due to climate change, there is a surgence of a lot of, you can say, pathogens, either diseases or pests. So that is very important. So according to Frankel, 1968, he defined plant breeding is the genetic adjustment of, you can say, plant for the social, cultural, economic, and technological aspects of the environment. So here, a number of things are involved. Social, because a variety is going to society via farmers. So people are, you can say, using the variety, seed, I mean to say seed of the variety. And that should have got a number of features. it should satisfy the consumers. That is the important point. And it should be, you can say, satisfy the consumers to, you can say, meet out his food requirement as well as also nutrition and quality aspects. Because a number of, you can say, stakeholders are there using that variety seed from farmers, from common man to industry. Industry also has to see what kind of quality. Example, for in case of wheat, you have to see bread quality, chapati quality, and from pizza, pista, and whatnot. Many products are being, you can say, made by wheat, likewise by rice, by maize, very versatile crop, maize, many products. So this quality aspect is also very important. And then cultural does mean it should suit society. It must be fit in the system, cropping system, or whatever you can say. It is a marginal farmer, or it is a small farmer, or it could be a progressive farmer. So that must meet his requirement. That is very important. And economic, that it should be cost effective. That if a variety is being grown, it must yield proper, whatever input has been supplied. So that is important. And most important environment. I must tell you that this is the variety which is the most environment friendly if it is resistance. If it is not consuming, you can say pesticides, so there could be no more better thing than variety. So that is environment. So there are several complements on breeding which can be cited. Then, but I would like to put a few before you. So plant breeders have focused on increasing the yield of variety and resistance, and you can say, and other diseases like abiotic diseases, drought and heat tolerance, and then other factors that have been altered for the benefit of mankind. Example for earliness, taste, size, nutritional crop quality, firmness, shelf life, etc. And also labor cost and quality of the harvest, whether it is easily threshable or not. So that is also point. In addition to that, a nutritional quality of several plants has been upgraded by genetic interventions. Example for maize protein, which is poor in a particular protein, that is lysine. So that has been improved by using OPEC2 gene. That is also known as you can say QPM gene. And earlier protein Shakti 2 varieties were released, later on HQPM7, and then recently one hybrid was also released by Vivekanand Lab. Then protein content of major cereals, either wheat or rice or maize, that have been improved upon due to genetic intervention by using, you can say, diverse parents and other things. So another example of that, breeding cotton varieties free of gossypol. Because gossypol is an alkaloid which have the degradation effect. So removing the gossypol, now cotton seed is being used for human consumption. It is for iron and protein both, and it is being produced in a very heavy amount. And so likewise, development of varieties with low neurotoxins in case of lethyrus, and also you can say some other inhibitors in case of pulses, and also low or zero erucic acid in rapes, and novel canes in which sugar cane quantity have been increased multifold. Also in case of sugar beet, some of the major examples you can say of achievements of the plant breeders because of genetic interventions. So likewise, development of semi-dwarf varieties of wheat and rice have primarily enabled plant to respond to high doses of fertilizer and elevated levels of management and yield. So in case of wheat, Norin 10, we know, and in case of rice, DUOGN. There are two, you can say, donors which have revolutionized, and due to whom you can say we are now talking about green revolution and also moving forward. So in addition to that, what is most important, because of increased yield, land has been spared. Land has been spared multifold. I can say that I would like to show some graphs where you can see that area almost has remained same in all the crops, but production and productivity has gone manifold. So only in case of wheat, around 70 million hectare has been spared due to increase in production and productivity. So that is one example. Likewise, you can see. Before going to show some graph, I would like to read out what Nobel laureate Dr. Narmal E. Borlaug on March 14, 2012, by delivering, you can say, convocation address in 22nd convocation of GP Pannu University. He asserted that from ancient days till 1950, you can say there was increase in agricultural production due to increase in area. But since 1965, production has increased due to genetic intervention and fertilizer research variety. So that was very big statement. Of course, until unless a variety is responsive to high input is of no use, because they will last. Because earlier tall variety were not, you can say, accustomed to high fertilizer dose and number of irrigations. Like, so these dwarfing genes, now things have been, you can say, universalized. So you can see one example of food grains where we have moved. You can say in 1951, it was just around 20. Now we have moved up to, you can say, from 51, we have moved up to, this year we are touching about 300 million ton. So you can see, and then productivity has gone up. You can say it was around 500 kg. Overall food has gone up 2,000, around 400 kg. So that is also big achievement. And you can see the area remain almost, you can say, constant throughout these years. Then another crop, very important crop, rice. You can see productivity of which was around, you can say, 500 plus kg, and now it is touching 3,000. And area is almost constant, but production has gone much, you can say, that is in between 150 and 120 million ton. Likewise, in case of wheat, remarkable progress has been made in case of wheat, and I would like to share with you that in long back, in 1968, due to high yield of wheat, when Dean Wilson was, you can say, ushering, a stamp was released by the then Prime Minister Srimati Indira Gandhi ji. That was with wheat years. Now, in the previous year itself, 100 million ton, we have crossed 100 million ton, and this year we have made another record of 107 plus million ton. So just I talked yesterday only, Director IWBR Karnal told that this year certainly we will release the stamp. So this is also remarkable. So you can see that productivity has gone up to 3,500 kg per hectare from 500 plus in 50-51, and you can say area is almost remain in between 25 to 30 million ton, and production has gone up to 107 million ton. So likewise, maize is another example. You can say very significant increase in productivity, and likewise pulses. Now pulses are a talk of the day. Due to pulses, now also self-sufficient. There was a lot of import in case of pulses. You can see how productivity has gone up in these years. So these were some examples, of course, how breeding activities have added to the value to the society. And you would be happy to learn that our university so far have developed 300 varieties, 300, starting from wheat to popular. A number of varieties in vegetables, fruits, cereals, pulses, oilseeds. And I would like to share that there are 14 varieties which are landmark varieties. Landmark varieties. In case of wheat, there are 3 varieties, Kalyan, Sonal, Sonalika, and which were also, you can say, which also played pivotal role in bringing green revolution. And if 262 remained very much popular for a longer, is still popular, and it is an intentional variety. It has been released in Nepal, in Thailand also. So likewise, in case of rice, type 3, Ligena 22, Moong bean, Pantmung 2, Pigeon pea, you can say a popular variety, UPS 120. You can say, went for a very long time. Lentil PL 406, ground PG 114, soybean Shilajit Ankur PK 472, 3 varieties. In rapeseed, Namaskar Kranti and Sargam, also CSS24MF. So these are landmark varieties. So this is the contribution of our university, besides developing 300 varieties. So there are, of course, challenges, because unless we have challenge, we are not going to improve upon. So what is challenge? The most important challenge. And we have only 2% here in global land, but we have to serve 17% of global population. So this is very challenging. That with so much, you can say, we have only 3.28, you can say, million square kilometer with us against 149 square meter kilometer total in the world. And population, we are almost 134 crores out of 760. You have to eat. Or at any cost, you have to develop high-yielding varieties, resistant varieties, and quality varieties. So there is climate change because we are also experiencing very much. So there is, due to climate change, what we are experiencing: erratic rains, high temperature, drought, and flood. And we have to do against all these so that we can have better varieties. So what is the result of these problems? High infestation of bees and insect pests, crop lodging, drought and heat stress, and then these are leading to loss in yield and quality of crop produce. Ultimate result is increase in prices and burden on, you can say, our country's sector. So that is because sometimes we have to import. That should not happen if we are prepared. So quoting one example, you see there is a variety, which was a mega variety before PBW343, UP, this is UP2338. So in 2010-11, there was an epidemic like situation of yellow rust. And you can see whole crop is looking yellow, which is looking like that turmeric has been sprayed. So we have to fight such conditions and we have to prepare ourselves. And I will show that how we have improved this variety using innovative tools. So you can see there was a rain on February 23, 2013. You can see like July. So this year also we have received a lot of rain, and due to which our sowing were delayed. So we realized, you can see the lodging in 2015 due to lodging around 4 million ton wheat production was reduced in 2015 due to lodging. The lodging is occurring when there is rain at the time of, you can say, after green filling period. If rain is there, that is very, you can say, injurious. So these are also rains were there, but with the grace of God, it was late somehow. So no lodging was there. So we could have markable place. Now you can see one example how rainfall pattern at Pantnagar during 2015-16 and 19-20. 15-16, November to January. Why I am showing? Because November is showing month. If in that month if the rain is there, things will be delayed. So we want clean, you can say, better, clean environment. So November, you can say very little. 16, 17, 17, 18. But 19, 20, you see the level of rain. And same what the pattern this year also. So these are the challenges and you have to cope up with these. And in addition to that, we are food sufficient, but our country, as per the hunger index, is at around 130. So this is very challenging because we have to give food to everybody and also nutrition. And same the problem at global level. Around 821.6 million people are undernourished. So there is added emphasis on development of nutrition-rich varieties. And there is another challenge because we are developing varieties. So there is erosion in genetic diversity. A lot of genetic diversity. You can see. I would like to thank Dr. Vikinchani who shared this slide. That a paper published in a very high-profile journal. That you can see over the years what was the position of, you can say, what happened 100 years ago and what is happening this time. So it is reducing very fast because we are using monoculture. We are just behind, you can say, high yielding varieties. So what we are now doing, we are focusing on pre-breeding because so we are using diversified, you can say, variants, having germplasm from NVPGR and Simit and Carda. Because until we are going to diversify, we cannot have that much, you can say, hybrid figure in our F1 or something like that. So as far as breeding method is concerned, there are many breeding methods which are being used by the breeders. And what is the prerequisite to understand what kinds of breeding method we are going to use? That is the mode of pollination or mode of reproduction, whether it is self-pollinated or cross-pollinated or often cross. So with the mode of pollination, breeders have evolved different methods. And earlier, a few methods were popular. Later on, other papers will become popular. And now we are talking about other. But I must tell you, whatever achievements so far have been made, it is 98% plus due to classical breeding methods, either in self-pollinated or cross-pollinated. Now, there is talk of some market breeding and some transgenics. Transgenics certainly is a very good approach, but it is not being accepted by our country. After BT cotton, no release was there. But marker-assisted breeding certainly is now being used by different, you can say, institutions. But because I am using market breeding for last 1 decade, so I know what is the pros and cons. And I must tell you, by using the, you can say, molecular markers or genomics, we could have some genes and QTLs or whatever. But ultimately, we have to hybridize, that is to transfer the particular gene or QTL, and then we have to move further. Only important thing is that we could have some precise integration, and we can watch without, you can say, going to the field time and again, because environment is not consistent. Therefore, we can help of, you can say, marker-assisted breeding approaches. That is important, and we have also improved the number of varieties. But until unless they are going to meet what is the existing one yield, they cannot be released again. Therefore, they could be used as donors. So I was supposed to emphasize upon that. So I have put here classical breeding methods for self-pollinated crops, and then in which a number of methods are there: mass selection, pure line selection, pedigree selection, bulk population breeding, single seed descent, backcross breeding, hybrid breeding, and mutation breeding. So in this case, I have a number of slides because for the benefit of the student, of course. So I am not going to talk on each and every slide, because each slide has got the information: what is the selection method, and what has been the achievements, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of particular method. So, and then this, you can say, introduction, selection, introduction, and hybridization. Three things are at the core of the breeding activities. So in case of mass selection, was the method earlier used. Now we are using pedigree breeding of selection. So that I will be talking what we are doing in that. And then some other method like single section method. This is a method not to develop a variety, but to handle some mapping population, so that we can have some listed crop. Backcross breeding. With this method, we can develop variety because we are going to add, you can say, resistant gene in a very, you can say, adapted variety. So that is a very important method, and we are using it. And then hybrids. So hybrids have been successful. Hybrids have been successful in some of the self-pollinated varieties. So for this prerequisite is, you can say, CMS lines, cytoplasmic male sterile lines, and restorer lines, and also maintainer lines. So in case of rice, it has been successful, but not in case of wheat due to a number of constraints. And then mutation breeding. Mutation breeding has also contributed a lot. A few slides are there I would like to share. Then in case of cross-pollinated crops, there are you can say few methods. First one is population improvement. Population improvement. In the population improvement, also whether without progeny or with progeny. So mass selection is also emphasized in this. And then in case of very important method is recurrent selection. And in case of recurrent selection, there is recurrent selection, simple recurrent selection. Then you can say reciprocal recurrent selection for the improvement of population. Because in case of cross-pollinated crops, unless we improve the population, we cannot have desirable hybrids. A hybrid which can yield we have to, you can say, improve our inbreds because inbreds are going to be used for the hybrid production. So hybrids are there. Then in case of maize, synthetics and composites and mutation breeding as well are there. And and second major one is market breeding. I have just briefly told about that. I would like to share some more information later on also. So this is a mass selection in which we are going to select material on the basis of phenotype. And this was, of course, very popular before this pedigree etc. were used. So what is you can say, we can have the information in detail about this, but I would like to share. So I have also some figures. You can see that how we are moving from one year to another year. Okay, how many plants you have to select, and then when to do bulk. So this is about mass selection, and what are the achievements of mass selection. So advantage and disadvantage have also been shared. You can say in each and every method. Okay, so that is for the benefit of the students. And one thing that mass selection has also, you can say, helped in developing a number of NP seed varieties, whether in wheat or in other crops. So very renowned, you can say, breeders like Chaudhary Ramdhan Singh, etc. Have used such kinds of selection, mass selection, and developed a very, very you can say, popular variety which could help us. Then it is pure line selection. This is a very important selection in case of silk pointed crop, and this is the basis. And many varieties were developed using this method also. So here also you have to have population, and year-wise, this pure line selection can go from 1 year to 6-7 years, because in this case, progeny are planted, plants are selected, and then preliminary trials are conducted, and then advanced trials. So this is quite, you can say, proven method, pure line selection, and with the help of pure line selection, also you can say a number of varieties were developed. And but some advantage and disadvantage also there. This is a rapid method, certainly, but sometimes there is problem of admixture or lateral crossing. But I must say that this method has been quite in use in case of self-pointed crops. So different, you can say, advantages and disadvantages have been displayed. And then this pedigree selection. This is a very important approach. We are calling it pedigree method because we are maintaining a pedigree from first year to the last year. And I must tell you that when we are going to use pedigree method, it takes around 6 years in the field, 7 years, then 2 to 3 years, either in the trials, either conducted by Department of Agriculture of a particular state or by the, you can say, All India Coordinate Program. So then it is going for identification, the notification, the breeder seed indent. So a variety, after making first class, it is going, taking around 14 years. So you see, now I am focusing on this. And what is to be seen over here? What is the basis of selecting P1 and P2? So when we are going to, I have to say that diversity is very important. We have to take diverse plant. because we are supposed to have diverse plant, then only you could have a good hybrid vigor in F1 and also transgressive segregants in F2. And I must tell you over here that bigger the population, or population, you can say plant numbers in this F2, we are having better chance to have better material for future generations. This is very important. So, so prerequisite is that both P1 and P2 should be diverse enough to yield good hybrid vigor. So when we are planting F1, so we are also planting some other material with this, because it is very important. We are planting check. That is the best, you can say, best cultivar of the time, so that we can compare each and every F1 with that check. So we are planting the checks on certain interval, and then also we are planting, you can say, infectors. So these infector rows, of course, are to spread the disease, because we have to have proper pressure of disease, so that you can see how many F1s are good enough to resist the disease. So yield is one point. Overall vigor is there. So only, but seldom we are rejecting in F1. Only very poor F1 we are rejecting, because F2 is the first segregating generation. So in that generation, anything can happen. So F2 is very important. So in this F2 also, we are planting, you can say, our material from F1. Then we are also planting check at the very first row, and then we are planting, you can say, infector row in between, so that proper, you can say, inoculum is built and we can screen for the disease. So at this time, we are selecting large population, and then we are moving in F3, where selection number is reduced because we are putting more pressure on the plants. And in F4, you see from 2000 to 200 and 100. So F4, now F4 is somehow looking to be homogeneous. So in this case, we have to identify the plants, and in case of, we can have some more seeds, so that in the next generation, we can plant in a bigger plot size, and then we can bulk. What is a bulk? Where a plant is looking to be far, better in comparison to checks, having very good resistance to disease, and also meeting other requirements, then we have to select. That is known as bulk. So we are giving, you can say, we are moving with our team, and we are giving this bulk, that bulk, and whole pedigree is there, you can say, while making the bulk. We can trace what was the, you can say, parent, which were used, what were the, you can say, characteristics of those parents. Then after that, we can have station trial, because station trial is very important. Station trial. Now here comes the design also. In station trial, depending upon how many trees we have selected, how many trees we have, how many trials we to conduct, we can either have RBD design, a simple lattice design, because anyway you have to reduce the, you can say, coefficient of variation, and we have to have error-free trial. There we conduct system along with agronomic data, and on the basis of, you can say, performance of our entry in decision trial. Now there are two channels. First, we can go for, you can say, state variety leaves, but for that also there is prerequisite that a variety should have proper, you can say, resistance. So in case of wheat quality system, there is a advanced breeding material. So our station trial material is now elite breeding material. So that material is given to, you can say, our lead center, that is Indian Institute of Heat and Viral Research number, and then they are, you can say, screened at hot spots for yellow rust and brown rust, powdery mildew, spot blotch, canard blotch. So many diseases, they have to be screened against many diseases. So that is very important. And until unless our material pass the IPPS testing, it cannot contribute to the quantity system. Okay, so either for release by SVRC or by CVRC, we have to there is a prerequisite to put the material into IPPSM. So this must be understood. Then after that, it is going to initial IVT, initial bacterial trial, are also known as national initial bacterial trial in case of coordinated system. And here 1 year testing is important if we are supposed to put our entry even in the state trial, which is known as standard bacterial trial. That is also important. Therefore, there is a full proof mechanism is there before contributing the varieties, either for state testing or for, you can say, national level testing. Material must possess resistance and IPPSM, and also it should have sufficient yield levels in a coordinate trial. Then it will be going there. And that material, so when we are going to, you can test under state variety release. So this is the, you can say, tested for 3 years, first year, second year, and third year. When that material is performing better than the checks, a minimum 10% yield gain is required to promote the entry. Then it is going to second year, and then it is going to third year. Same norm is adopted. Okay. Likewise, when we are putting to IVT and IVT, so in case of coordinated system, 1 year testing is there in case of initial trial, but 2 year testing is there in case of second year and third year. So, so now this is the, you can say, breeding methodology. After that, what is happening? Once material is okay, suppose it has performed very well. If it has performed very well in case of coordinated trial, so it can go to 1 zone or more than 1 zone. Example, for in case of wheat, we have 6 zones: northern hill zone, northern western plain zone, northern eastern plain zone, northern central zone, then peninsular zone, southern heat zone. So what is the basis of, you can say, deciding these zones? Because we are developing varieties for different ecosystem, different agroclimatic zones. We have to take care of soils. We have to take care of temperature regimes. We have to take care of disease pressure. So these pressure, temperature regime varies from one zone to another zone. Example, for if we are going to develop variety for northern hill zone, in which Uttarakhand, so we have responsibility for that. So for that, our major emphasis is to develop rainfed varieties, because there is very less, you can say, irrigation facility. Therefore, our focus is on developing rainfed varieties. So one of the varieties, UP257 has been Sitori in case of hills, rainfed as well as irrigated condition. Likewise, we are developing a number of varieties for, you can say, our state as well as country level. So far, 32 varieties have been the heat program. So in case of state, third year, there is organized in which variety is identified. Once variety is identified, there will be another meeting of seed subcommittee in which variety is released under the chairmanship of Secretary of the Government of Uttarakhand. And in case of coordinated system, once a variety has performed well, so that is identified in the annual workshop. After the identification, it is going to be released and notified simultaneously in the, you can say, Central Variety List Committee. And Central Variety List Committee has been changed. I will let you know also full name of that. So this was about the, you can say, pedigree breeding method. So many things we have to keep in mind while using the pedigree breeding method. So there are less disadvantages, more you can say advantages are there. However, this is from nature. Okay. So then we have other method, bulk population breeding method, some purpose. So there is flow diagram. Students can go with this, and then there is, I have told, there is single seed decision method, which is also modified pedigree method. We are also doing subtle breeding like thing. So in case of in India, there are two stations. One is in you can see nearby Coimbatore, that is Wellington. We are planting our material in oxygen nursery. Their planting is done in the month of June, and harvesting is done in the month of October. So their material is planted for two purposes. One is to, you can say, screen against brown rust and black rust, stem rust, and another is to advance some material. Likewise, we have another center. So this center, Wellington Center of Indian Agriculture Research Institute, and then we have another oxygen nursery, which is being used as shuttle breeding program. That is in Lahaul Spiti, that is Dalang Maidan, which is the center of Indian Institute in Barley Research. There we are planting material. There, so that is at that place we are getting very good yellow rust and also brown rust, but not stem rust. So we are also conducting some crossing, also planting for the advance, and major focus is to screen against the yellow rust and brown rust. So that is the kind of shuttle breeding. So when we material we are developing, our mapping population, we are developing using single seed decision method that we are planting at Wellington, and you can say this Lahaul Spiti both. Okay, so some then this is the back cross breeding method, very important method, of course. So we are using back cross breeding method. We are making 3 crosses and something like that. So back cross in this case, major focus is that if a particular cultivar which has been very popular and adopted one, having all the very good characters but lacking in one character, example for resistance or something quality, then we have to have the particular donor, and we have to make the cross, and then we will go like you can say pedigree method. There is nothing change. We can select the material. We have to have sufficient population, and then we can release the variety with the same process. And in that case, there are two situations could be there: either dominant gene transfer or recessive gene transfer. So dominant gene transfer is easy. However, in this recessive gene transfer, we have to make self to identify where which is plant of our choice. So that is taking some more time. If we are transferring recessive gene, so either dominant gene or recessive gene, they could be responsible for, you can say, many characters. So sometimes we have to go by recessive gene. So so I have mentioned about advantage and disadvantage, and so there are achievements. Now we can see at a glance of mass selection a number of varieties. In case of Bajra, or you can Parmillet, you can call it Babapuri, Jamnanagar Giant, Pusa Moti. In case of Sarso, Yellow Sarso, T42, T16, and other varieties, T17, and also in case of maize, T14, Jampuri. Then in case of Desi cotton, American cotton, a number of varieties, and also even in case of castor, mass selection is there. And then pure line selection, a number of, you can see, variety of NP series of wheat. Then in case of cotton, Cambodia Cambodia 2, etc. And then in case of barley, C251, C50, and also in case of tobacco, variety were released. And I have told that this NP series variety were very good. Then in case of pedigree selection, most of the varieties are there. And then also with the help of bulk, some variety have been used, you can see developed, like barley, Riawat, Gicher, Ressier, and in case of Prescott and Shannon and Rye. Then backcross method has been, you can say, very popular where disease is a problem. Cotton, in which pest is a problem, Helicobacter is a problem, and disease aphids are a problem, and some disease are also a problem. So backcross breeding has been used also in case of cotton, and also in case of wheat. This backcross breeding has been used to develop some varieties. Then when we are talking about cross-pollinated, in cross-pollinated, recurring selection is very popular one. So we have to cross time again. In that case, just to improve our population. So I have just previously told that there are recurrent selection, simple recurrent selection, and reciprocal recurrent selection. The method have been, you can say, elaborated, and then you can have the slides later on. Each, you can say, method has been there with the figures that how to perform, when to make, because this is an open class craft, and but there too we have to make an intercross block, and we have to do some self. For selfing, we have to cover the tassel and this your uh, tassel and silk both. It's a very interesting craft, but also requires a lot of parts. So making, you can say, recurrent selection as, or you can say reciprocal recurrent selection. So methodology have been, you can say, elaborated over here. Okay. So I am moving forward. So there is a figure of reciprocal recurrent selection also, in which there are intercross blocks, because then intermitting is done between two blocks. So reciprocal recurrent selection is also very important, and also selection is there for general combining ability or specific combining ability. And so one thing I missed, I would like to share that as a breeding principle, we are, you can say, having a few things in mind. The first thing, the diversity. That is, we have to have, you can say, a land race, or we can have wild relatives, or we can have elite breeding lines, you can say state varieties, or cultivar, fuchigene, seed cham, or even we can have exotic material. Then we should have the knowledge of gene action, whether it is additive gene action, or you can say dominance gene action, epistatics. So depending upon the gene knowledge of gene action, we have to improve. Example for, in case of self-pollinated, we are going with additive gene action. However, if we are going to develop a hybrid, we must have dominance type of gene action. Likewise, we have to know the heritability of the character. If heritability of character is high, we can go for selecting typically, there is no problem at all. And then otherwise vice versa. Then the most important another aspect, that is stability. So stability is also checked until unless our variety is stable, that is across the location and over the years, it can't be popular on the farmers. So to check the stability, different methods. So this is about I have just put in between. So in case of maize, in addition to hybrid, synthetic are also produced, and not only synthetic but also composites are also done. So in case of synthetic, you can say general commanding ability is tested. However, in the composite, it is not. So in case of maize, very popular EOS stock synthetic was is synthetic. In case of sugar beet and cauliflower and bajra, also some synthetics were developed, and then some disadvantages are there. Then in case of composites, here you can say simply mixing up, you can say is done, but with proper care. And this is, of course, a heterogeneous group is there. But due to certain reasons, synthetic and composites are developed. Otherwise, hybrid is the first priority. And that is true nowadays in case of either maize or you can say pearl millet or in cross hybrids. Because in case of single, earlier in case of maize, there was talk of, you can say, double cross hybrid also. But now there is added emphasis on single cross hybrid because they are uniform and hybrid. And so regarding composites, a number of composites were released in case of maize, Amber, Jawahar, Kisan, Vikram, Sona, Vijay, etc. And then in case of Bajra, pearl millet, also 3 composites were released. And in addition to these, you can say mass selection, classical breeding approach. There is another approach which is mutation breeding. So in this case, mutagens are used to, you can say, mutationize the genotype, and for that different kinds of mutagens are there which are used. And though this time less work is going on mutation breeding, but earlier mutation breeding has contributed a lot. A number, hundreds of varieties were developed by mutation breeding. But in that case, also we have to have patience because not all the time mutations are there for choice. So certainly we have to wait. That is why now some other, you can say, methods using genomic assisted, you can say, tools are becoming popular. So there are some centers which are using regular mutation breeding. We are also having one project from bark to mutation, and we have some success, and things are, you can say, in pipeline. So I have told you that there are types of mutation: physical mutation, chemical mutation, and then ionizing radiations, non-ionizing, like that. So different kinds of, you can say, mutation are there. I have shared the slide for the information. Then how to move? So when seed is mutagenized, then it is M0. Then we have to go for M1, M2, M2, M3, M4 onward. And you have to, you can say, put always that parent variety which has been mutagenized to compare that whether mutagenized population is different from that. If it is different, then for what? So that has to be noticed very, you can say, clearly, very cautiously. And there is identification on development of disease resistance and drought and seed tolerance. So very, very well proven method, mutation breeding. You can see that global level, more than 3,000 varieties have been released, you can say, using mutation breeding. And many countries, including India, have used mutation breeding, either in case of rice, or in case of maize, or in case of pearl millet, or any crop where hybrids are involved. It is either it is cytoplasmic or genetic. So cytoplasmic materiality is preferred over genetic materiality. So because it is reducing the task of, you can say, making crossing in between. So because crossing by skilled, you can say, manpower is very costly affair. Why in case of wheat, not, you can say, promising hybrids to have been released because of the problem of, you can say, restorers. Based cytoplasmic lines are there, but we are not having that kind of restorers which can give hybrid vigor. Because cost benefit ratio is very important. Until unless we have hybrids which are yielding better than conventional and which are having in price than, you can say, lower price, which can suit to the farmers, a hybrid in wheat can't be popular. Though 2 hybrids were released by Mahiko, of course, quite back, but both could not become popular. And the second constant, main constant, is quantity of seed required in case of wheat, because normally we are using 100 kg per hectare seed rate. So if we would be able to reduce the seed quantity required per hectare, then only seed cost could be realized. That is also a very challenging job. In case of rice, transplanting is there, so we can use 12 kg, 15 kg for even per hectare, depending upon what kind of tilling is there in the seedling. So that is why it has become say, successful in case of rice. And what about cross pollination? Because they are inbuilt mechanism of crossing mechanism, so they are very much suited for the hybrid production. But in that too, milk sterility is exploited. So this is also some figure are there which are narrating how to, you can say, making process. And not only though, conversion of, you can say, very good lines into CMS lines is very important task. To have, you can say, broad base or to have better yield. Because if some important spontaneous millet trial line sometimes are very weak as far as yield is concerned. But when we are going to convert our, you can say, adapted one, so they are going to help better. So this is that's what the figure that's sharing, and so transfer. So this is the, of course, transfer mechanism, how to transfer. Okay, so there is, this is also transfer of R gene. So not only you can say CMS line, but restorer are also you can say built by converting with the help of restorer, you can say R gene. So that is also in the background of adaptive. So we have, if we have CMS line as well as recurrent, you can say restorer line, both in the background of adaptive one, we could have better yields. That is proven. And I have told that there is chemical induced mill sterility. So particularly that has been used in some country, a few examples are there. But in our country, program was initiated, but that was also closed because there was no success. So whatever program, only at few centers, example are at IRI and IWBR Karnal, is still going on using CMS line, because there is always resource crunch. So not all the centers are going to take up each and every task. So one has to focus. So now I will be talking 5 minutes about this another, you can say, important method, that is marker sheet building. So in case of marker sheet building, there are 2 important, you can say, selections of foreground selection and background selection. So what is the, you can say, importance? What is the importance of the marker sheet building? I have told in the beginning that here we can have precise integration of genes. Example for if you are going to integrate or transfer a gene for rest. So once if it is known that this donor validate particular donor or particular gene, then we can cross with the particular line. Then in case of F1, so now that is before flowering, all the plants are subjected to, you can say, foreground selection. That means with the donor and the and F1 are put on the PCR and gel, and wherever there is a presence of a particular, you can say, gene, then we can make the crossing with the current parent. Others will be discarded. So in that way, workload reduced, plus we can see that we have the genuine plant in which we are going to make cross with recurrent parent. Because the very basic objective that we have to have all the characters of recurrent parent except that of a particular gene from the donor. So in regular backcross, we have to go for BC3, BC4, something like that. But here we can do even up to BC2. Seldom we are going for BC3. If our foreground selection is proper in each generation, beginning from F1, BC1 and BC2 with honesty, then there is no need to go to BC3. This is my experience for the last 1 decade. And a number of varieties have been improved. UP2338, popular variety, UP2382, UP262, 3 have been already improved. And 2, UP2855 and UP2572, they're a very popular one. Now has got some susceptibility to rust. They are under, you can say, improvement with the help of DBT projects. So with the help of DBT projects, we have, so I must tell here that these projects are not only helping us for doing some bidding work, but they are also helping us in the development of human resource. A number of students who are MSc are doing PhD, they are facilitated with the fellowships, very good fellowships. So they are also learning the methods and they are confident and they are also publishing some papers. So this is the mark integration. So there is one example you can see. I have shown this UP2338, which was like turmeric like turmeric spray. This has been given 3 genes, YR15, LR19, LR24. So one very effective gene, YR15, and 2, LR19, LR24, that is yellow rust, brown rust. So including 3 genes, you can see that plant phenotype has been recovered. So to recover phenotype, there is a very cumbersome task, that is the background selection. In that case of background selection, in case of marker assisted breeding, whatever I have experienced, that foreground is not a problem. Problem with background. If you are going to have something like recurrent parent, because for that you have to run a number of markers. You have to have a number of polymorphic markers which can cover whole genome. Because which is a big genome, therefore we have to have many markers. Until unless we have sufficient number of markers, we cannot satisfy with the background. So what we do additionally, that we are also looking for some morphological markers. So in case of UP2382, there was a morphological marker, that is having a colored, you can say, liquid, purple color. So that has helped a lot. That reduced our, you can say, background selection. But in case of UP238, it's not. So as breeder, we have to look from breeder eye point of view also, that how much we have recovery. Otherwise, on the lab based, only it cannot be done. Only it can be done where labs are very much well established, very progressed. They have less, you can say, work in the field. So there they can do background selection. So this was, you can say, about market breeding in brief. Now, I would like to, of course, 2 slides have been missed. So the topic was variety procedure, but I have talked about variety development procedure, because until unless we develop the variety, how we are going to release. So in case of release, I have told in between. So same thing, that once we have elite breeding lines, that is in initiation trial, then that will be going to IPPCN testing, then quantitative trials. Then in case of state, that will go to state variety release. You can say state trials, that is known as standard, you can say, battery trials for 3 years. And then we have to identify in the workshop at the state level, and then release, and then notification. And one more step is there in between release and notification. Once release is done, we have to send the sample to NBPGR, New Delhi. We will get IC number. That is very important. Not only that, we have to do fingerprinting of the particular variety with the checks used in the experiment, or with particular very popular check. Also we have to use for fingerprinting. So 2 more steps are there in between a notification. You can say after the identification and release, taking IC number from NBPGR and then doing fingerprinting. So that is also one of the aspects of variety release procedures, how variety is released. So identification, then taking IC number, then doing fingerprinting simultaneously. Then proposal is submitted to state government in case of state release, and then Secretary of Agriculture is forwarding it to, you can say, CBRC for notification. Their committee under the chairmanship of Deputy DG, Deputy Director General Crops and Sciences. Their, you can say, proposal is screened with all the directors of particular crops, and also committee is there, which you can say committee sees the proposals, their merits, and then notification is done. Once the notification is done, then comes the matter for farmers. Now that variety will come to seed chain by production of the nuclear seed and breeder seed. So nuclear seed and breeder seed both are indented, of course, by particular state, or you can say if central release, so a number of states can release, you can say give the indent, but indent is coming from Department of Agriculture and Cooperation, and we are popularly calling it as DSC indent. So DC ingredient is also indicator in how much area your variety is going. But in addition to DSC, then after breeder seed, it is going to foundation seed, then certified seed, then to farmers. But in between, there is one more channel that when once variety is identified, we can give the mini kits in farmer fairs and are at some on some other occasion to the farmers to see the you can say potential of the variety. In potential, it will be popular. It will become popular even before notification. There could be a lot of seed demand. So, and I must tell you that earlier minikit was a very, you can say, a popular, you can say, method to popularize the upcoming varieties. In addition to minikits, we are also conducting frontline demonstrations. So, in case of frontline demonstration, not is also spread there given to farmers, but varieties, you can say new varieties are most important one. So they are also given to the farmers, and from there messages either positive or negative, both kind of messages can go fast. The variety has been put either through minikit at the farmer's field or at the farmer's you can say field through front demonstrations. So certainly, I am also looking after front end demonstrations, so I know what is to be done. So this was about was is released for Uttarakhand Hills only, but it has gone a number of states. In UP state, it's certified seed more than 1.5 lakhs distributed, which has gone to even Rajasthan. So if a variety has the potential for adaptability, if it has stability across, that is going to become popular. So content was too much, so I did not ask any question. But before putting my slide off, I would like to ask only one question to the audience. If productivity level of wheat, what was in 50-51, how many acres we could have required to produce 107 million ton? What is it today? So if anybody can answer, then also one question about the heritability. If there is genotype and phenotype are not, you can say, different, then what could be the heritability percentage? Okay, and then as a breeder, I must tell that when we do something in field, we get experience, and when we get experience, we do better. And until unless we will try to do better, we will not flourish, because there is a lot of competition also in variety procedures. And we have to do variety release not only for yield, but for disease resistance, but for quality. There is added emphasis on nutrition aspect. And in case of wheat, we have not only nutritional aspect, we have a number of genetic stocks for iron and zinc, but also for blast resistance. There is a problem of blast now, it has reached up to Bangladesh. So we have preparedness for blast resistance, and earlier we have also prepared for UG99 resistance. UG99, it is a very, you can say, offensive, you can say, race of stem rust. Though stem rust is not problem in our zone, but we have to prepare ourselves. So those are the things that at the end, I would like to say that as a breeder, we have to have very broad, you can say, perspective. You must take help of plant pathologists. We must take help of entomologists. We should also call our agronomists, and overall, we have to have all these, you can say, tracks among ourselves to take care of everything. So at the last, this is our wheat breeding field. This I have not taken by drone. Of course, when I took this picture, drone was not popular. So in our university, there is, you can say, vehicle which prepares electricity on poles. So once I requested the director electric just to spare his vehicle for some time, and then I just went on the top and took the figure to the photo by a simple camera of my own. So this is one figure. I have a number of figures, of course, because Normani Borlaug Research Center is facilitating us, and also university directorate officers and DBT project had facilitated a lot. In addition to DBT, project from CIMMYT, project from USAID, project from BIREC, project from BARC, these have facilitated us in one way or another way. So I am acknowledging those financial assistance, and also I would like to acknowledge my erstwhile leaders, Dr. J.P. Srivastava Sahab, Dr. L. Gautam ji, Dr. T.V. Singh Sahab, Dr. S.K. Amri, Dr. Sohan Sharma ji, Dr. T.P. Saini, and my Dr. Rawat Sahab, and also my colleague Dr. Anil Kumar Swati, who is with me, and other friends who have gone, who were at the helm of affairs, like Sri K.V. Singh, Vijitner C.U.B. Yadav, and many field workers. Of course, it is not to be done by a single person. It is a teamwork. Many a time, my other colleague, Dr. Deep Sikha, Dr. Rajiv Kumar, Dr. Deep Sikha from Pathology, Dr. Rajiv Kumar, Economics, they used to visit our field. So, and one more thing I have to add, that these trials are monitored. These trials, national nurseries, international nurseries, are also monitored by a team controlled by ICR.